Yeah, guys, we're moving on to not Browns. We're moving on to baseball. And before we get to baseball, today's episode is brought to you by Epicor.
Yes.
Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, and practicing every detail until you get the best result. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the all-stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. You can see your whole supply chain, manage logistics, and respond to pricing changes all easier. From small businesses to big dreams and growing enterprises with global vision, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most out of every hardworking minute. And easier doesn't cut corners, easier finds the lane. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. That's www.easierwithepicor.com.
All right, so last night was the All-Star game, and we'll get into the game, and I know a lot of people worked up about how it ended. But I'll tell you something. You know what? I'll save it. Let's first get to MLB. MLB.com did this, right, Anthony?
Yes, they tweeted, the official MLB account tweeted this out.
They put together their all-time, they like to do this around the All-Star game, their all-time team for every franchise. So they posted their all-time Indians/Guardians franchise lineup.
That's actually incredibly difficult to do.
It is.
I want to try
we're
to guess
talking
it.
115 years
That's
of history.
crazy.
Think of all the great pitching that this organization had back in the black and white days.
Oh, my God. And then, from hitting from, back in the day to the 90s to Lindor, Ramirez. I mean,
I remember during COVID for The Athletic, I did like the greatest to jersey numbers, 0 to 99.
I remember that, yes.
And it was so hard. Like, there are so many good ones.
There's probably some numbers, right? You had like 10 guys. There's some numbers, there's probably a few numbers you had only one.
I've always wanted to do a story
on
like the most pitiful number in Cleveland sports history.
Yeah.
It's like 68. Like nobody good has ever worn the number 68.
No.
I think it was 68.
Not some offensive lineman or
No,
something?
like I went with like a guy who was second team All Big Ten from Ohio State because we had to include Columbus too. Alan Klein, I think.
Alan Klein, good for you, Alan, getting some recognition.
That's a good pull by me. I can't.
Nice job out of you. So Anthony, here's the one question: is it just when they played for the Indians/Guardians, or does it include their whole careers? Do we know?
I'm not sure, but I can go find the tweet.
I think we'll know based on who it is. That's true. All right, go ahead. Let's see what's in here.
I can't see.
Oh, we cannot read that.
All right, so
I got it. Manny in left, Tris Speaker in center.
Too bad Manny didn't play left, so we're already off to a bad start.
And Kenny Lofton in right, which doesn't make any sense. Jose Ramirez at third, Vizquel at short, Napla, I can't remember how to pronounce his name. Lajoie. I have a terrible job out of me. Jim Tomey, starting pitcher Bob Feller, closer Emmanuel Clase, Sandy Alomar Jr. is the catcher, Albert Bell is the DH, and Terry Francona as the manager. All right, who's got a beef? Anybody got a beef with any of these?
Well, that's stupid because Manny never played left and Kenny never played right. So what are we doing here?
Yeah, I guess they wanted to pick just the three best outfielders. Let's leave the position. I do have a beef with that too.
So before they brought this up on the screen, the only one from the black and white days that I would say okay to was Bob Feller. I don't know Nap LaJoy, and I don't know what's his name,
Tris Speaker.
But
I know them both, even though I couldn't think how to pronounce his name.
I mean,
nice job out of you.
I know Earl Averill is damn near in the top 5 of every single Cleveland Guardian statistic. I don't see him on this list. So I guess that's a hair scratcher. Just personal preference. Maybe it's because I was raised in the '90s, but I would go Mike Hargrove over Terry Francona.
I'd take Tito. I loved Mike, but I'd take Tito.
I just thought Mike's teams was good for a little bit longer.
You going Mesa over Clase there?
Hell no.
How could you possibly?
I'm kidding.
Never.
I'm kidding.
Absolutely not.
I don't know. Here's my biggest beef. And I know people can disagree with this because one guy played a lot longer. I'm taking Lindor over Omar Vizquel.
I would too. Yeah. Offensively, it's not even close.
Not even close.
And defensively, Omar was good. Obviously, very good.
So was Lindor.
But that's
not as good as Omar.
That's what I'm saying.
But yeah.
The gap, the offense, to me, Frankie was so much better offensively.
Oh, God.
Yes, Omar was better defensively.
And he was here longer, obviously. But
not that much. I mean, Frankie was here, 6 years?
I was going to go Roberto Alomar at second base.
Well, I think all those guys are in the Hall of Fame. All the black and white guys.
Who's the second? Oh, yeah.
Can't beat that.
That's an interesting one. I got obviously, in terms of the outfielders, Manny's got to be on there.
Yeah.
Kenny's got to be on there. Kenny Lofton, of all the Indians, the fact that he just got thrown off the table by the Hall of Fame committee,
I agree,
was terrible.
It's
I think he might get in one day from one of
the veterans
seniors
committee,
or veterans, whatever they call
I
them.
think the Veterans Committee will put him in.
Because when you look at his career compared to the other players that profile like him, the Tim Raineses of the world, like he stacks up well against a lot of those guys.
I mean, the longevity has to count as well.
And you know what? I remember, and this is long before I worked here, towards the end of his career, I remember him coming to the Cubs one year, and the Cubs went to the playoff. And I'm like, Kenny Lofton's a winning player.
Yep.
That was a stretch at the end of his career. He'd get traded at the deadline every year, and that team would go to the playoffs every year. He is a winning player.
Yes.
I believe Kenny Lofton. And a lot of people scream about Omar Vizquel. To me, Kenny Lofton's more of a Hall of Famer than Omar Vizquel.
I agree with you.
And he's been shortchanged. Like, if you're going to have Harold Baines and Dave Parker, and I love Harold Baines and Dave Parker. They're part of my childhood. They were players I really liked as a kid. When I think about, like, who's the better baseball player, Kenny Lofton's a better baseball player than Harold Baines or Dave Parker. And those guys were great ball players. But Kenny Lofton's better to me.
I thought Kenny Lofton was better than Tim Raines in terms of the mold
I agree,
of
too.
that type of player.
I agree. The only player in that mold better than him is Ricky. That's it.
Yeah. Ricky had more power, obviously.
Yeah. Ricky was just on another level.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. But, Tim Raines is in the Hall. And I know you're right. Parker and Baines are different type of players, but I still think that Kenny Lofton should be in the Hall of Fame.
Can we see that again? Can you pull it back up?
I think it's a pretty good list overall.
It's not-
Besides the fact that Lofton and Ramirez are at the wrong outfield positions.
I don't know how you can compare guys from 100 years ago.
Yeah, it's tough.
But they're in the Hall of Fame, so I don't know how you leave them off.
Yeah, right.
So that's a really kind of sticky wicket there. Because I think Robbie Alomar certainly deserves consideration at that spot.
Sure.
Sandy at catcher, no beef there.
No.
Hosey at third is fine.
Good with Bell at DH. Good with Clase. I'm with you. As great as Hargrove was, I would take Tito.
I would take Tito. Tomey at first is correct.
Who could be in the outfield if you were going to take one of those guys out?
So you want to hear their outfielder honorable mentions?
Oh, give me all the give us the honorable
Joe
mentions.
Carter, I guess.
Elmer Flick, Grady Sizemore, Bob Feller, Charlie Jameson.
Well, Bob Feller.
Feller's on the list.
Bob Feller's a pitcher. How could it be
This is listed as outfielder. I was just reading them right off the list.
Well, yeah, he's not an outfielder.
maybe it's a different? Could it be a different Bob Feller in the 1800s?
No.
Go ahead.
Charlie Jameson, Earl
Averill. Yeah.
Larry Doby, Travis Hafner, Michael Brantley, and then Andre Thornton.
Okay, that list doesn't even make any sense because Andre Thornton was a first baseman DH, and Travis Hafner was a DH.
Oh, I apologize. Those last three were DHs. I was just reading all the way down through. My bad.
Okay. I can't put Hafner over Tomey or Bell.
No.
I love Hafner.
No. Averill.
Larry Doby. Averill and Doby are great players, but who am I supposed to put them over? I think it's pretty good. I actually think they did a really nice job with this. Who are you putting over Bob Feller?
Nobody.
Nobody.
I mean, CeCe, I guess, maybe, but no. You could make a case for CeCe, I guess, but it would have to be Bob Feller.
Do they have pitcher honorable mentions?
Yeah, they have pitcher honorable mentions. CC is on that.
Kluber?
CC, Kluber.
So you have Harder, Lemon, Kalvetsky, McDowell, Joss, Sabathia, Allen. Oh, and then those are the starting pitchers. Then in reliever closer, you have Cody Allen, Doug Jones, Andrew Miller, Jose Mesa, and those are your starting. Those are your pitcher honorable mentions.
Doug Jones is actually a really good closer. Yeah. He just played on horrible teams, and he threw it about 74 miles an hour.
I mean, could you make a case for Andrew Miller over Clase because of the postseason? Was he just not here long enough?
I don't think he was here long enough. No, it's got to be Clase.
What he did in that postseason.
Man, he was so dominant.
It changed the way teams.
Didn't he wear 24?
I don't
Miller?
remember.
Yeah, I feel like Miller wore 24.
His
here.
career was basically over after
Oh, he
that
killed
year.
him.
I mean,
Tito killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's amazing is that I thought Joe Madden had killed Chapman, and it did look like it had for a while.
And now he's
had
back.
a resurgence.
At 37.
Yeah.
He's the most dominant reliever, I think, in baseball this year. Is there one better?
He's been one of the best.
Sub-2 ERA?
Yeah, I mean, I
whip
can't
under
think off the
1?
top of my head of too many of them better, if any.
Not Clase, not Mason Miller.
No.
I think Chapman's the best reliever in baseball this year. The best closer for sure.
Certainly one of. Yeah, he might be. But that was fun. That was a good list. I think they did a very good job.
That list, it takes me back. Me and my friends always talk about like sports. Growing up in the 90s.
Yeah.
The Browns weren't here. The Cavs was mediocre or bad.
Right. Yeah.
The Indians were always good.
They were it.
Jacobs Field was always sold out. Every kid, they talk about like how black kids don't play baseball, don't be into baseball now.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case then.
Yeah.
Like everybody I knew could name the Indian starting lineup from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I thought Carlos Baerga was the coolest because he used to wear the gold chains all the time.
I wore 9 as a kid.
Like,
I wore 9 because of Baerga.
Kenny Lofton was like, him and Ken Griffey Jr. was like the coolest black baseball players to me.
Yeah.
Manny Ramirez, y'all all know that was my favorite player. Jim told me I seen him hit the ball further than any human ever. I think that home run was 511 feet.
Yeah.
Like, I still remember that. So, like, to see where this team is now, that's why I be so – because I used to be a diehard fan, and it's like now it's just casual. But it ain't my fault. It's their fault. We had a quality product for a long period of time, and it just kind of slowly diminished over time.
I do think they've still had a quality product more often than not.
They have
since the 90s, but
right
now
they were the only ticket in town.
Right, that's true.
The Cavs were totally irrelevant. They were here, but they were winning. They were winning games 88 to 84.
Yeah.
They just were not exciting.
Right. So
that was Browns were gone,
and the Indians were awesome.
You would have loved Cleveland.
Oh my God,
90s.
I can't even imagine how much fun that would have been.
It was the hottest ticket in town.
I mean, it's just incredible.
I remember. This is pre-internet days.
Yeah,
you'd have to go stand in line at Ticketmaster.
Yeah,
and then you'd get out the seating chart. You look, and the tickets. The day the tickets went on sale, you couldn't get through. Like the phones were busy.
Yeah,
there was lines wrapped around building. It was crazy trying to get.
It's
tickets.
Funny in those days. Obviously, I had no connection to Cleveland at the time. But I was always rooting for those teams because I hated the Yankees.
Yeah.
So I was always rooting for those teams to beat the Yankees. Because I did not want because a lot of my friends were Yankee fans and I wanted them to be miserable.
Yep.
And so, I always wanted them to win because I always thought they had the best chance. I was like, how does this team not win? Like, why are they not winning? It's so funny that all these years later, here we are.
The one time I joke I'm dead inside. I just don't care about I still get excited. 97 when Sandy hit the home run off Rivera.
Yeah.
I was in the auxiliary press box. I was a student at Kent State, and I was working, just covering the game. And I jumped out of my seat screaming.
Wow!
Oh my God!
It was amazing.
That was the most incredible thing. It was like a thunderbolt from the sky.
Yeah.
Nobody thought they were gonna win that game.
I remember,
series was over.
I remember watching Game 7 of the World Series with my dad and my brother. My mother let me and my brother stay up late on the school night.
Yeah.
I think it was a Sunday night, and I just remember Charles Nagy dominating.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there, Hargrove comes to get him, Mesa goes in.
Yeah.
And
that was OJ, Chad OJ.
Yeah.
And who started? Jarrett Wright. Jarrett Wright started Game 7.
Was it Jarrett Wright?
It was Jarrett Wright.
Jarrett Wright.
Nagy came in relief.
Yeah, Nagy came in relief. But when I seen Mesa come in, I just remember again being a kid and just seeing he just let it just all go away. And I remember my dad kept saying he should have left Nagy in there. He should have just left Nagy in there. And I didn't know it would be a long time before this team make it back to the World Series. I was going to O.H. Perry in 3rd grade. And I remember telling my friends on the bus, we'll be back.
Yeah.
It's all right, we'll be back.
Should have been. And saying Jarrett Wright, of course, reminds me that they could have had Pedro Martinez.
Could have had Pedro. Yep.
It was going to be Jarrett Wright was the key player in that deal.
And they didn't want to make the deal.
And the Indians didn't want to get rid of him.
They were trying to trade him Cologne, and Montreal wouldn't take Cologne.
Right.
Could have had Kurt Schilling. Could have had Pedro and Kurt Schilling.
I didn't know Kurt Schilling.
Oh yeah, 90. That same.
They could have had them both, one or the other.
One or the other. One or the other.
If you had got if the Indians had gotten either of those guys, they would have won a World Series. There's no way.
Schilling got a standing ovation at the All-Star. It had to be 97.
Yeah.
Schilling got an standing ovation during the introductions when he was with the Phillies during the introductions because everybody thought he was laughing about it. He was smiling. You go back and watch the intros from it.
It just kept being one pitcher short.
Yeah.
And
this is one of those
Yeah.
topics that makes me wish I was born a little bit sooner. 'Cause,
Yeah.
born in '97, like I missed the
my God.
high days. Like,
Born in
I didn't-
'97.
I know.
I didn't
I was in
see
college.
the Guardians make a World Series until I was in college.
Well, how you think I feel how Ant feel? I sit up here and listen to you talk about when the Browns was good. Everybody around me talking about when the Browns were good. I was born in '87, so by the time
My Lord.
Yeah, you
it
didn't see
was
any of
over
that.
with. I didn't see any of
Was
that.
that the year of the drive? Was '87 the drive or the fumble? '87 was the drive.
Yeah.
I just always heard, man, the Browns, late '80s, when the team more dominant. I'm like, yeah.
That was, again,
Yeah.
much like the Guardians, the Indians in the '90s, was the Browns in the '80s. I remember Hanford Dixon and Ozzie Newsome came to my elementary school for something.
Oh, that had to be awesome.
And the kids
I
just
bet you everybody
lost
went
their
crazy.
minds. Oh, the kids lost their
Yeah,
minds.
yeah.
Kids were eating dog bones. Like someone brought all the kids were eating dog bones. It's like,
Memory.